I now give the floor to His Excellency Mr. Lejeune Mbella, Minister for Foreign Affairs of Cameroon.
Mr. President, it is a great pleasure and a great honor for me to deliver the statement of His Excellency Paul Biya, President of the Republic of Cameroon, who has instructed me to deliver the statement on his behalf to this 76th session of the General Assembly of the United Nations. And the content of the statement is as follows. Mr. President, first and foremost, I wish to congratulate you on your election as President of this present session and assure you of the support and full collaboration of the Cameroonian delegation. There is no doubt that your rich experience will help to ensure the success of our proceedings. It is also my pleasure to commend the remarkable work done by your predecessor, Mr. Volkan Bozkır, and to express my appreciation of the positive outcomes observed during his term against the backdrop of major challenges compounded by the COVID-19 pandemic. I would also like to extend my warm and heartfelt congratulations to Mr. Antonio Guterres on his re-election to the helm of the Secretariat of the United Nations for a second term. He will thus have the opportunity to continue building on the outstanding progress achieved during his previous term, notably in terms of reforms, and more specifically with regard to the repositioning of the United Nations development system. It is also my pleasure to assure him of my country's commitment to support him in strengthening the United Nations and implementing a global agenda for peace and sustainable development. Mr. President, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished delegates, it is with conviction that I am taking the floor on Cameroon's behalf in this general debate on the theme, Building Resilience Through Hope to Recover from COVID-19, Rebuild Sustainably, Respond to the Needs of the Planet, Respect the Rights of People, and Revitalize the United Nations. Mr. President, this theme appears very apt at a time when mankind is confronted with the COVID-19 pandemic. Its devastating social and economic consequences are calling into question the progress that has been achieved in poverty reduction and jeopardizing the achievement of our 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. A strong appeal must now be launched for renewed momentum of human solidarity in order to take our common destiny into our hands. To secure the future we want, we cannot afford to continue shying away from the multiple major commitments that have been made during recent conferences on the environment and climate change. in particular the Paris Agreement and the Addis Ababa Action Agenda on financing for sustainable development. The COVID-19 pandemic affords us the opportunity to provide concerted, lasting, and comprehensive challenges to the multiple threats and global and complex challenges facing our planet and humanity. Mr. President, it is important to urgently catch up on the delays in the implementation of the 2030 Agenda, delays stemming from the non-fulfillment of commitment made and further exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic. In order to do this, our political will should remain steadfast. We need to strengthen multilateralism by practicing solidarity with determination and by providing the Secretary General and the United Nations system the means of action and adequate and predictable resources in order to manage our common home. In that regard, I believe that the reform of the Security Council remains relevant. Africa must have its rightful place therein with 2 permanent seats and all of the associated rights, and with 2 additional non-permanent seats as called for by our continent in the Azulwini Consensus and the Sirte Declaration. Mr. President, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, there is a need now to move from promises to firm commitments in order to ensure equal access to COVID-19 vaccines and support low-income countries on the path of science and technology, thus enabling them to address the multiple challenges they face. Let us swing into action to reform the global economic system and ensure fair trade. My country seizes this opportunity to hail the proposal for a global minimal tax rate on multinational corporations in the hope that it will come into effect as soon as possible. Mr. President, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, humanity is currently plagued by the following scourges: climate change, multiple conflicts around the world, growing terrorism, cybercrime, sea and ocean pollution, non-peaceful uses of space, including outer space, social media abuse, degradation of forest ecosystems, biodiversity damage, maritime piracy, and the tragic plight of migrants, among others. My country welcomes the upcoming COP26 and the Stockholm Plus 50 conference. We will lend our support to efforts to ensure the success of these events. It is imperative for our bilateral and multilateral partners to deliver on their commitments to provide developing countries with the requisite financial and technological resources to implement climate change mitigation and adaptation programs. No one can be safe in today's increasingly globalized world unless appropriate measures are taken to ensure security. Allow me to recall that my country is still waging a war against Boko Haram terrorists in its northern part and in the Lake Chad Basin in cooperation with other countries. By contributing troops to UN peacekeeping operations, Cameroon is demonstrating its steadfast commitment to international peace and security. We are maintaining our efforts in the northwest and southwest regions of the country to end the social political tensions fueled by armed groups. In this regard, we have set up a comprehensive mechanism that comprises the following elements: a disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration program, a humanitarian assistance plan, a reconstruction plan for these two regions, a national commission on the promotion of bilingualism and multiculturalism, and a special status for the two regions in question that grants them a regional assembly, a House of Chiefs, a regional executive branch, and public independent conciliators. These strides have all been made possible thanks to the major national dialogue that we have organized. The government's action is already yielding tangible results with a gradual return to peace. Despite some isolated acts of banditry perpetrated by armed gangs, the situation is improving with the passage of time. Our defense and security forces have been deployed on the ground to protect the populations and their property with professionalism and respect for human rights. More globally, Cameroon has embarked on an extensive program of reforms aimed at achieving its emergence by 2035 in keeping with the United Nations Sustainable Development Program and the African Union Agenda 2063. I would like to avail myself of this opportunity to thank our bilateral and multilateral partners for their assistance in this endeavor. Mr. President, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, we are going through a period marked by multiple challenges, but also multiple opportunities. It behooves us to learn lessons from this and to work together to build a world of peace, security, and well-being for each and every one. Such is the path that Cameroon has resolutely embarked upon. Thank you for your kind attention.
I thank the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Cameroon for his statement. We have heard the last speaker in the general debate for this meeting. The 70th plenary meeting will continue, which will be held immediately following the adjournment of this meeting.